The United States can destroy North Korean troops in Ukraine. Kim Jong-un is getting ready to suffer enormous losses in Ukraine, and Kamala Harris maintains a small advantage over Trump by several percent. So how can the US destroy North Korean troops in Ukraine, and what are the chances of both candidates on the US general election? Chairman of the House Intelligence Committee Michael Turner urged the White House to destroy North Korean troops in Ukraine. He said that if North Korean troops are deployed deep inside Ukraine to fight against the Ukrainian soldiers, then the United States could consider taking direct military actions against North Korean troops in Ukraine. Michael Turner said that it would be a red line for the US. This deployment of the North Korean troops would be a red line for the US government. That's why he urged Biden to act, not to hesitate to do something and to act, because since the beginning of this information and since the beginning of this deployment of North Korean troops to Russia, we haven't heard any kind of a major response from the Biden administration. It seems like Biden administration fails to act and to condemn, at least to condemn North Korean deployment to Russia. Also, Michael Turner said that if North Korean troops are deployed to Russia and attack Ukraine from the Russian territories, then the US should allow Ukraine to strike deep inside Russia with Western-made weapons. So even after the North Korean deployment to Ukraine, the US government still hesitates to allow Ukraine to strike deep inside Russia, even after the deployment. Also, we haven't heard any kind of a response from the White House. Fox News previously reported that the White House could retaliate with another package of sanctions against North Korea and Russia. However, these sanctions doesn't work. They do not work because it hasn't stopped Russia from continuing its war against Ukraine. So it could be a weak option for the Biden administration, but it's all what they would do. And also we haven't heard any kind of a major reaction from NATO to the deployment for Ukraine, because President Zelensky says that Ukraine now is at war with Russia and North Korea. So two nuclear powers are fighting a war against non-nuclear nation, against Ukraine. So it's not a fair game here, but Biden administration still hesitates to respond to this and to at least allow Ukraine to strike deep inside Russia with Western-made weapons. Meanwhile, Presidential National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan refused to allow Ukraine to strike deep inside Russia with Western-made weapons. Sullivan said that there are ongoing discussions on this matter. However, he said that US policy did not change. So the US government does not allow Ukraine to strike deep inside Russia with Western-made weapons. Also, Fox News reported about one interesting assessment of the US intelligence community and Pentagon. US intelligence and Pentagon reported that came to conclusion that this authorization to use weapons inside Russia could be more harmful than good for Ukraine's war effort, because 90% of Russia's aircraft have been already redeployed out of the range of ATACMS systems. But who could be blamed for this issue? Not the White House, because the White House hesitation allowed Russia to redeploy 90% of its air assets out of the range of ATACMS systems. Earlier we have heard some reports which indicated that after the US received first requests for Ukraine to allow to strike deep inside Russia, Russian intelligence gathered this information and decided to redeploy its most valuable assets out of the range of this system. So only Biden administration's hesitation to do so allowed Russia to redeploy its most valuable assets out of the range of the ATACMS systems. That's why it's really important for the White House to act and to at least to respond to this dramatic escalation. Meanwhile, President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky said that Russia could be invited to join a peace summit only after the realization and only after permitting to conclude to do all important steps what are needed to maintain peace in Ukraine. President Zelensky says that Ukraine will not invite Russia to join Global Peace Summit unless Russia is ready to take fair steps to allow peace to be maintained in Ukraine. So President Zelensky earlier has presented his victory plan, which consists of Ukraine's membership in NATO, allowing Ukraine to strike deep inside Russia and providing Ukraine with even more support. The main aim of this plan is to put more pressure on Russia and to force Putin to negotiate with Ukraine in good faith. That's why President Zelensky is pursuing this plan, is moving forward with this plan and urging Western leaders to act and to allow Ukraine to end the war through negotiations, but on normal terms, on appropriate for Ukraine terms. Because earlier, Russian dictator Vladimir Putin did not want to negotiate with Ukraine in a good faith. He urged Ukraine to withdraw all Ukrainian troops from 4 Ukrainian regions. So it's absurd for Vladimir Putin to urge Ukraine to withdraw Ukrainian troops from Ukrainian land. That's why Vladimir Putin is not ready for negotiations now. However, he could be forced to do so according to President Zelensky's peace plan. Meanwhile, the Institute of Study of War analyzed the recent results of the BRICS summit. Institute of Study of War came to conclusion that Vladimir Putin failed to unify his allies around the war in Ukraine. So Vladimir Putin failed to unify his allies around the war in Ukraine because the participants of the BRICS summit did not came to the communique which would allow Russia to continue its war. So the members, participants of this summit did not support Russia's war against Ukraine. On the other hand, they supported the territorial integrity of other countries and urged all parties to maintain all principles of the United Nations Charter. That's why Vladimir Putin failed to unify these countries, because no one from these members of this BRICS summit supported Russia's war effort inside Ukraine. And in the end of our conversation, we will cover the internal US politics. So both candidates, Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, have the similar results in the opinion polls. That's why it's really hard to predict who will win the US general election. According to the recent poll by Reuters Ipsos, Harris has a little advantage over Trump, so Harris gets 46% of the support from American voters. At the same time, Donald Trump gets only 43% of the support from American voters. Also, Trump leads in Arizona, Georgia, Nevada, and Pennsylvania, and North Carolina, and Harris, on the other hand, has an advantage in Wisconsin, Michigan, Nevada. Although the recent polls indicate that both candidates have the same results in the swing states. That's why it would be really impossible to predict who will win the US general elections. That's why stay with us on YouTube, and we will continue to analyze this issue and will let you know about the results of this general election, because it's really important for Ukraine to have the good US president which will support Ukraine and do all best to help Ukraine to defend itself against Russia's illegal war and illegal aggression. That's all for today. Stay with us on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and glory to Ukraine.